Have you ever heard of lack of money is a little bit of a problem? You know what? Lack of money, it's never, ever, ever a problem. What I mean by that? Lack of money is simply a symptom of the problem, but it's not the cause of the problem. What the problem really is lack of skill. Have you ever heard stories of lottery winners who suddenly have a windfall of money coming into their lives, millions and millions of dollars, only found themselves a few years later broke, bankrupt, actually sometimes worse off when they were financially? Now, why is that? They have money, but they don't have the skills of the rich. I am rich not because of my money, because I started with no money. I was in debt. I was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I am rich because of my skills. So today I'm going to teach you the 7 skills that I have mastered. The 7 skills that I believe you need to understand and master if you want to be rich. Now, as I go through each skill, I want you to ask yourself the question and comment below and rate yourself from a 0 to 10. 0 being like absolutely horrible, like you suck, and 10 being world class. So here we go. Skill number 1, the ability to talk to customers persuasively. I call that closing skill. Do you know how to close? Can you articulate the value of what you do to your potential clients? Do you know how to ask powerful questions that compel people to buy? Are you comfortable talking to strangers, presenting your ideas, demonstrating your product or service? Closing skill, I believe it's one of the most important, if not the most important skills you need to master if you want to be rich. When you're talking to customers, you're closing. When you're talking to vendors, trying to persuade them to give you better terms, guess what? You are closing. When you're talking to your employees, you are closing. So that's skill number 1. The number 2 skill that would make you rich, and that is the ability to speak to groups. I call that public speaking skill. You see, do you know the number 1 fear that most people have in life? It's not snake and it's not even death. The number 1 fear that most people have is public speaking. Now, why do so many people, why are they afraid of speaking to groups most of the time? Because they worry about if they're gonna sound stupid, or how do they look, or they are afraid because they might say something wrong. All these things, but you look at great leaders, almost all great leaders, they're all great public speakers, such as Steve Jobs, right? Such as Tony Robbins, Warren Buffett. One of the skills that changed my life is public speaking. When I joined Toastmasters years ago, because I wanted to improve my English and also reduce my accent, and I was improving myself through public speaking. I developed confidence, self-confidence through public speaking. So ask yourself, are you afraid to speak to groups? Do you know how to present your ideas to groups? Can you communicate with conviction and certainty? Can you interact with your audience? Maybe you get sweaty palms. Maybe you were like me in the beginning, like your face would turn pale, right? Your knees would be locked. That's okay. It is a learnable skill. But in order to be rich, public speaking is one of the most valuable skills that you must master. The third skill that will make you rich, and that is the ability to communicate with words in print, or what I call persuasion in print. I refer that as your copywriting skill. Now notice I said copywriting skill. Now copywriting, I'm not talking about being all grammatically correct, although it's good to do that. But I'm not talking about what you learn in school, the academic writing. I'm talking about communication. I'm talking about maybe it's your webpage, your video. I'm talking about your email. How do you communicate with the written words? Now, why is this so important? Because in day-to-day communication, the emails you send or the social media posts or the agreement, the contract, your LinkedIn post or your blog, a lot of that is written communication. And when you know how to communicate effectively through the written words, it gives you a tremendous amount of leverage. Let me give you a perfect example. Let's say you create a social media post and you have a decent amount of following. That gives you leverage because what you say and what you write, that is seen by hundreds of people, thousands of people. In my case, it could be millions of people. In fact, copywriting is the very first skill that I developed as young Dan Lok, and that's the skill that changed my life. That's how I went from losing money and not making enough money to earning $10,000 a month in my early 20s. So copywriting. Now that is not taught in school. School taught us writing, but it didn't teach us copywriting. So that's skill number 3, the ability to communicate with words in print. Skill number 4, and that is the ability to communicate clearly and effectively with your team. I'm talking about your leadership skill. You see, in order to be an effective leader, you also must be an effective communicator. Do you know what the vision it is for your company? And are you communicating that with your team members? Do you communicate clearly the vision to your team? Do you know how to create a good culture within your organization? You see, all that is leadership skill. Business is not a solo sport. Business not only is an intellectual sport, but it's also a team sport. As an organization, you're only as good as your team. It's very, very important to develop that leadership ability, to be able to inspire, to motivate and lead your team. Skill number 5, and that is the ability to manage and organize your time for maximum results. Some people refer that as time management. I refer that as priority management. Because at the end of the day, we all only have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. You cannot actually manage time because we all have the same amount of time. However, what you can manage is your priorities. What are the important things you got to focus on? What are the important things that will move the needle, that will help you move closer to your goals? The problem is school never taught us how do we manage our priorities, right? You're doing your homework, you're taking exams, you're taking care of your family, you're doing a bunch of different things, but most people, we never take the time to slow down and look at what we do and ask ourselves, okay, why am I even doing this at all? What is the payoff of these activities? We never ask ourselves those profound questions. And at the end of the day, priority management really is self-management. How do you manage yourself? And if every single day you can manage your time efficiently and effectively, and you focus on just a handful of things, right? There are 2 or 3 things that you know if you keep doing that consistently would get you the results that you want. So rich people understand, they realize the value of their time, and that's why they avoid what I call minimum wage activities. If someone can get the job done costing you less than what your time is worth, we delegate it. So that's skill number 5. Skill number 6, and that is the ability to read financial statements. I call that financial literacy skill. Now, this skill is not taught in school. In school, how do we measure how well we do? Your scorecard. Are you getting A? Are you getting a B? Are you getting a C? Well, in the real world, in the business world, we look at your financial statements. Your financial statements, they are your scorecard. It tells us how well you are doing financially. How well are you managing your money? Now, you may be thinking, well, Dan, are you asking me to be an accountant, like take an accounting course or be a bookkeeper, things like that? No. But you do need to understand the language of money. Financial literacy, that's the language of money. How money works, your balance sheet, your income statement, your cash flow statement. When you look at the statement, you just look at the number and say, oh my God, man, I don't know what's going on, or I'm not making enough money this year in this ball, or I'm having a loss this year in business. Or can you read between the lines? What is it telling me? What's the story? How am I managing my money, right? And you need to understand the basics of some of these vocabularies of money: credit score, return on investment, profit and loss. right? Capital gain, capital loss, depreciation. A lot of these words, that's what you have to understand. You cannot improve something you don't measure. So financial literacy, and it's extremely important skill you must master if you want to be rich. Skill number 7, and that is the most important skill out of them all, and that is the ability to manage your own mind. I call that your mindset skill. Frustration, negativity, fear, envy, depression, limiting belief, procrastination. How do you manage your emotions? How do you manage your mind? You see, you could get all the other 6 skills right, and you can master all other 6 skills, but if you don't have your mindset right, it's not going to work. I've said it many times. The book Napoleon Hill wrote, it's called Think and Grow Rich. Part of thinking is managing your mind. What are you feeding in your mind? How many times do you know exactly what you need to do to accomplish your goal, to achieve results, but you cannot get yourself to do it because of procrastination? Maybe how many times in your life you have opportunities slip through your fingers and you cannot get yourself to step up and take action because of self-limiting belief? Or what about how many times that you know that other people believe in you, but you don't believe in yourself because of self-limiting belief? That's all mindset skill. So those are the 7 skills that will make you rich. If you want to know how I went from a poverty consciousness, a poverty mindset to a millionaire mindset, click the link below or somewhere on this page. I'm going to train you on it. Lao Tzu said it best, knowing others is intelligence, but knowing yourself, that's true wisdom. Mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself, that's true power.